During the Vietnam War that kicked off in the mid-50s and ended during the mid-70s, the United States employed some pretty intense methods to clear the Vietnamese jungles. The first thing that comes to mind for most people when I mention this is probably a tree line lit ablaze by napalm, or maybe even just regular bombs turning patches of trees and brush into craters. But as horrific as napalm is, and as destructive as bombs can be, neither really even hold a candle to the effects that one certain herbicide had on the general Vietnamese population. The name of that herbicide was Agent Orange, a sinister chemical with a toxic compound found within it called dioxin. Specifically, Agent Orange was a combination of two different herbicides called 2,4,5-T and 2,4-D that were mixed in equal parts. During the war, the United States procured over 20 million gallons of this stuff to be spread all over Vietnam, and it was utilized as a part of a larger herbicidal war program that was ironically called Operation Ranch Hand. The defoliant did its job, it did it quite well actually, but the effects that it had on the people in the area was absolutely horrific. The government of Vietnam states that 4 million of its citizens were exposed to Agent Orange, and as many as 3 million have suffered from illness because of it. These illnesses include various types of cancers, such as asynchronic B-cell leukemia, Hodgkin's lymphoma, multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, prostate cancer, respiratory cancer, lung cancer, and soft tissue sarcomas. Quite the mouthful, but in my opinion, and the inspiration for this title video, the worst part of this is the effect that it has for birth, and the lingering effects that may come after any physical damage to the person has already healed. According to a study by Dr. Nguyen Viet Nam, children in the areas where Agent Orange was used have shown a significant increase in multiple health problems. These health problems include spina bifida, cleft palates, mental disabilities, hernias, and even extra fingers and toes. All of these are birth disorders. There is something incredibly sinister about a chemical that not only harms you, but has the potential to kill or even seriously disable your children that just doesn't sit right with me. The fact that the United States was also giving Vietnam the super soaker treatment with this shit is an absolute tragedy that goes largely unrecognized and untalked about in today's society. Coming from a small town with a population of less than 100,000 people, it's difficult to really imagine and put into perspective the amount that was affected by this cruel chemical. If we go by the official numbers given to us by the Vietnamese government, the chemical affected an amount of people that is equal to or well over a third of the population of New York City. And that number, even to this day, continues to grow. There are still unreported cases of dioxin exposure that are being brought to public eye when they finally seek help from a hospital. Or the even more sinister option, in my opinion, people who learn they have a health problem or learn that an existing health problem is due to exposure to the chemical that their parents had. A study from the 1970s also found an extremely high level of dioxin in the breast milk of South Vietnamese women. The same study also found a level of dioxin in the blood of U.S. military personnel who had served in Vietnam. That's right, not even our own troops were safe from its effects. Millions of people were, and tens of thousands still are, affected by this horrible chemical. For this video, I tried to focus mainly on the person impact it had on people in the area. I'm not even going to really divulge into the effects that it had on local fauna and wildlife, but needless to say, it was beyond terrible. Swaths of trees and wildlife, completely wiped out. I think we can all agree Vietnam was a shit show for the United States. There were tens of thousands of young men and people who just never got to see their families again, thousands of miles away from home. I mean, lives that were just needlessly tossed away for no real purpose. But with the amount of time that's passed, it feels like there's almost a disconnect from the events that occurred, as people who were actually there fighting become more and more scarce as time goes on. It's just tragic to me how even now, almost 50 years later, there are still Vietnamese people and veterans alike who are affected by this chemical and still suffer because of it. Well, this has been my second attempt at a longer hand video, and it's a bit different as it's a much darker and more serious topic, something that I felt just wasn't talked about enough or acknowledged enough in Western society, so I hope you all learned a little something from this, and until next time, thanks for watching.